So we bought this property back in 2015. It was an old abandoned farm, and it actually was in my family years ago. It was my great-grandfather's land, and every year since we bought that property, we have set goals to slowly clean up the property, develop the property, and turn it into our dream place to live, our dream homestead out in the country, basically. And so our goals for last year, we set 6 goals, and we only set 6 because we didn't want to overwhelm ourselves, because our first goal was to finish our house. So we were living in a camper while we were building this house. So our number one goal was to get out of that camper, get into this house. We wanted to finish all the dirt work around the house and just pretty much have the house complete. So 2 problems with that, maybe. Pretty much we completed all that. We're living in our house. The first problem was it took longer than I was hoping. So I was really hoping to be done by April. We were in July before we actually had the home inspection and closed out the mortgage and everything. So it took a little bit longer to finish the house than I originally had intended. And then the second problem is we did get all our dirt work done, got our driveway done. So the driveway probably needs to be a little bit wider on the circle drive, so we're gonna probably have to go back. We're going to add some gravel to the circle drive, and we're going to make it wider. That way you can park on it and still be able to drive around. And then the second problem, or the other problem with the dirt work, is there's grass on this side, but the walk out of the basement on the other side, pretty much the grass didn't take. So we're going to have to go back and replant the grass on those sides and try to get the grass done. But other than that, that goal is done. So I think I'm gonna grade that goal as complete. We just got a few things that we need to maybe straighten up a little bit. So goal number 2 had to do with this barn right here. This is an old bank barn, and we wanted to be able to raise some larger livestock. We already have chickens and rabbits, but we want to be able to get, maybe goats, sheep, pigs, cows, just different livestock to try out. So in the lower level here in this barn, there's actually animal stalls, and we wanted to fix this whole barn up so it could house animals again, and just move all our animals out to this barn. And so we wanted to fix up the barn, and we wanted to make a barnyard. And you can see we've already got fence posts. We've got them all set around here, and we're in the process of making a barnyard. And we also wanted to fence in this area out here behind me and make all of this pasture back here for the animals. Now that goal, we didn't get that goal complete. This is a really big task. So what we have done is we have kind of cleaned on the inside of the barn, kind of getting it ready, and we've started setting fence posts. So we've got fence posts set out here. We haven't pulled our fence for our barnyard yet, and we haven't really done anything for the pasture. So goal number 2, getting the barn ready for livestock, getting a barnyard and some pasture fenced in, that did not get complete. That's a big task. Maybe we're 20% complete, if that. So goal number 2 was a fail. So goal number 3 is to plant more trees. So every year we've been out here, we've planted trees. Our first year we planted this 18 tree fruit orchard, and every year we've just continued to plant more trees. So this year we didn't want to be different. We just wanted to continue to plant more trees here on the property. So at the beginning of the year I actually ordered 14 trees from one company and 1 tree from another company, along with some blueberry plants. And the 14 trees, none of them survived. The 1 almond tree from the one company did survive. So far goal number 3 was a failure, So I tried to make a kind of a late attempt. I made another order for some trees from a different company. Of course, they weren't going to show up till November. So in November we planted 55 more trees. We planted some trees for firewood. We planted some trees around the pond. They're more of an ornamental tree, but some shade trees for around the pond. And planted some evergreen trees for privacy and windbreak, and planted 8 hazelnut trees. Really wanting to get more nut trees here on the property. Got a lot of chestnuts I've planted, but I really want to be able to get some hazelnut, more almond trees, and maybe get some pecan trees in the future. But so goal number 3, I really don't know whether those trees are going to survive, but they looked way healthier than the first bunch. So I got a good feeling that they will grow in the spring, but I won't fully know until then. But I'm gonna go ahead and call goal number 3 a success. We did plant more trees, gave it 2 attempts. So goal number 3, check. So goal number 4 had to do with my pond. We have a 3.5 acre pond that was on this property when we had bought it. And so one of our goals was to help maybe open up some more fishing opportunity. So behind me here is a narrow section. It's got kind of woods on each side. And this side over here is actually a little more clear, and but it's hard to get back to. You kind of have to walk through the woods to get back there. So there's an inlet. There's an inlet right back here, and we wanted to build a bridge across there and then kind of clear this side out a little bit so we can get down and bank fish down that narrow part of the pond. Right now you can only row a boat back there to really fish. That didn't happen. We didn't even make an attempt at trying to put that in. So I think that next year we'll have a better chance of doing that. Actually, when maybe even in the winter we might have, if the pond would freeze, it might even help me at least move in that direction of getting the beams across the inlet. So I've got some beams. I'll show them here behind me. So I've got these really big beams. They were dairy barn posts, and they're huge beams, laminated treated beams, and that's what we were going to use to cross over this inlet back in here. And so now that we got a tractor with a big post hole digger on it, and then maybe if the ground will freeze this winter, we can at least get the beams maybe drug across the inlet. Maybe next year we'll have a better chance at getting a bridge back here. But for now, for this year, goal number 4, building a bridge, didn't happen. So goal number 5 was to build a wood shed. So we got this wood burning fireplace. It's kind of like it's like an insert. It's basically a wood stove that fits in the fireplace, and I can heat my house with it, and I have been heating the house with it this winter. And so we wanted a wood shed that was maybe where we could drag it up here, have it somewhat close to the house so I didn't have to go get the firewood. And that didn't happen. We didn't get that done. I almost started building that one day, but never did end up happening. I started kind of calculating up the costs, and didn't really have much free money to be able to buy the additional material that I needed. So after I really thought about it, our goal, and it's not this year, not coming up, but in a few years, we're going to build a pole barn over here off the side of our house, and that's going to be our garage, and it's going to be a workshop, you know, like a woodworking shop for me. It's going to be in the back half, but we're going to put a lean-to on the side of that barn. And that barn, and that lean-to side, it will be perfect for me to be able to store some of my firewood that ain't going to be too far from the house to go get. So I said that pole barn will probably be a few years down the road before I can build that. So what am I going to do in the interim? Well, in the interim, we're just going to store our firewood under this lean-to. So this lean-to shed was here, and we keep our rabbits under here. We keep all our animal supplies under here. We keep all our rabbit chicken feed in these trash cans under here. So all this will eventually be moving back there to that bank barn when we get our livestock out there. So that'll even free up more space under here. But for right now, I'm piling up all the wood that I'm cutting this year under here, and then all the split wood I've got in separate piles under here. I've got some here, I've got some back over there, but basically we're just going to use this lean-to for the next few years to store our firewood, and we'll just take big loads up to the house. We'll just pile it up on the deck under the covered porch. We may build us like a little firewood rack up on the porch. But I'm not going to end up building a woodshed. I think that whole goal is gone. But so the goal of building a woodshed is a failure. But I think after I've thought it through, I don't think I'll end up building one. You guys are making a lot of noise. Come on out. So goal number 6 has to do with basically how much does it cost. So in order to be able to know what we're, I guess, doing good at and what we're doing bad at, we decided that we would track all of our expenses. We kind of did that year before, but we didn't really probably get all of our receipts captured. I think we've done a good job this year of capturing the receipts. And so we've actually kept track of all of the costs involved with chickens and rabbits and ducks and gardening. But besides all the costs, we actually tracked everything else. So we know exactly how many rabbits we've butchered, how many eggs we've got, how many chickens we've butchered. I actually kind of know roughly everything out of our garden that we ended up kind of canning, and you know, I have all those statistics, so I kind of know what we gained, but what it cost. So if you guys so that was a success. I think we've tracked it. We know what our feed costs are. We know what our other costs are, like cage wire, hinges. We know all that. And if you guys are interested in any of that kind of homestead math or what livestock actually truly costs, I'll be posting some videos here at the beginning of next year on what 2018 actually cost us. And in the end, like homesteading, like raising your own animals and trying to raise your own food, is actually not the most cost-effective way there is out there. You can go buy food at the grocery store cheaper, and you got to kind of evaluate how much you're willing to pay to be able to do that. So it's kind of, at least so far, it's not real cost effective, but we're going to try to do our best to learn from the information we gathered and try to get those costs down as low as possible. So goal number 6 was a success. So that's our 6 goals for 2018. We didn't really get all those goals complete, and we only really got about half of them done. But overall, I mean, I think a lot of that was due to the house. I mean, the house was just way more time consuming than I thought it was going to be. Even though we moved in July, we still had the driveway to complete. We still had grass to plant, and it just seemed like everything kind of drug out. Even though we were done and moved in, we still had things to do. So the house was super time consuming, took away from any extra time of completing our other goals. But that being said, I think 2018 was a huge success. We achieved basically our lifetime goal of moving out to the country and living in a log cabin. I think that was kind of our goal, and something. So I think it's a huge success, because that's kind of our dream goal right there, and we made that finally happen. We haven't really gone into it too much. Maybe talk about it later in another video, but we started this back in 2010. And so 2010, we kind of stepped back, said, where do we want to be? And we started working toward that. We started paying off all our debt, paid off our house, started saving up money, and saved for a few years, you know, after we paid off our debt, just to be able to get out here and buy some land. And then after we bought the land, of course, you know, it took a few more years to be able to get to the point where we could sell our house and start building another house. So I mean, it was a long time. It took 8 years of you know, paying off debt and saving money to be able to move out here. So it can be done. It's just not going to happen overnight. And so our 8-year journey is pretty much, you know, that journey of moving out to the country is done, and now we're on to the next journey of actually living that lifestyle. So pretty happy. So I think 2018 is we're gonna look back, and this is gonna be one of the best years of our lives, that we finally got out here and now we're living the dream. So of course, I'll be setting some goals for 2019. Should be doing that here in a couple weeks, but so 2019, we'll really actually finally be able to focus more on developing the property. In the past, we've done so much to just clean up the property and just kind of work toward infrastructure of building a house. So 2019 ought to be pretty interesting. We ought to get into the real meat and potatoes of homesteading. You know, we'll finally actually get some real livestock and raise some four-legged animals, you know, and it'll be interesting. We'll have a lot of firsts, a lot of things to learn this year coming up. So if you're interested in any of that, hit subscribe and follow along. And like always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.